Welcome to another episode of Finding Love. And today I'm going to tell you how the woman whose ick was not dating a guy with kids got married to a guy with kids. So I know what you're thinking, especially if you are one without any children. I ain't dating nobody with no kid. I get it. I was there. I lived in that piece of being like, I'm gonna start a family with my husband when we're ready.
Right.
But there are some key elements of this man that made having a child a bonus. So in the beginning of us getting to know each other and us dating, I had my list like everybody else, right? And my list had started to evolve away from like the appearance. It wasn't like this tall, dark, and handsome type of thing that guys and girls have on their list today. It was more so about the substance, I thought. And I thought that if you have a child or you already have a family or you've already done something that I haven't, that was just an ick. That was like, red flag. He got boogers in his nose, okay? And so when we first started to get to know each other on a deeper level, him having a kid was like, uh-oh, wait a minute. How you gonna swoop in on me, Lord? I said I didn't want this. But there are some very key things that you need to know as a person with a child and as a person dating someone with a child that really gets to the bottom of how you progress and make sure that the relationship is solid before you really, block your blessing. So in the beginning, there were some things that you did in the process of how you introduced me to Cam and all of that good stuff that I really want to dive into. But I think that it leads to the very first key.
Yes.
The first key being never pressure to meet that child. And so how did you go through that process? What was that? I could kind of speak to how I was able to not pressure you, but I really want to know the process of, okay, I like her, then what? What was all right, she can meet my son.
It was a very, very delicate subject for me, right? And because I held my son at the highest esteem, as my highest priority, and I also handled him as if it was handled with care, fragile, right?
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of parents don't do that enough.
Yeah.
And I like that key of never applying pressure to meet the other one's child. Yeah. And so we were dating, and early on, I knew that there was something with you, right? But I need to make sure that I was not getting my feelings in a place of clouding my judgment. So I knew that my process with you was going to be really understanding that if me and you had a future together. Yeah. And that was going to take some time. Yeah. Because even though I was having feelings that I had never had before, I had to make sure that I was making a logical decision for my son, right? We were working together, hanging out together, talking every day, and on a time that I did have Cam, we were still in constant communication. Yes. And so after, it was several months of us dating. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 6-7 months of intense dating. Yeah. Right? I put in a plan to introduce you to my entire family. Yeah. Right? For Thanksgiving. And so being able to, introduce you to Cam with everyone there as a friend was kind of part of the first step. Yeah. But for me, having never introduced Cam to anybody, being able to handle him with care and being able to bring you around in an environment that I thought we could grow from.
Yes. And I think that it's important for the bonus parent to understand that process. And I saw how great of a dad you were. I saw how much you talked about him. I saw how much time you spent with him. I saw like how you tried to bring him into your world and you got into his, you know, and I thought that those were admirable. So when you were like, okay, this is how we're going to do this, I said, well, I don't have any precedent on introducing nobody to my child. So I totally trusted your process. But one thing that I think is very key is that it wasn't like, oh, I got my son, I can't talk to you today. Or, oh, I'm about to go hang with my son, I holler at you on the weekend when he go back with his mom. We still talked and communicated and even had lunch dates while he was at school or, you know what I'm saying? We still saw each other and were able to build our relationship even on the days that you had your son without involving your son in our dating process and in our getting to know each other process. Which I think is key.
Yes, and what's also key with that is that sometimes when we have a child, the one with the child feels as though that the other person could never understand, and our time is so valuable because we have to make all these sacrifices because we have a child and we have to prioritize things in a space in which we didn't have to when we were single. Okay? But what we have to do and what we have to understand is that we are the one who had the child and that we were single. So we also have to appreciate your time. Right?
Yes.
You don't have a child, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that your time is less valuable than mine. And so when you recall your single years, you have to understand that, look, I can appreciate your time just as much as mine. So I just knew that in that space, I needed to make sure I didn't just place the expectation on you that you just understood a parental's life. Right?
That's the second key. The second key is understanding and respecting and appreciating the time management of each person. Period. Because now that I am a parent, right? I can't imagine that if I had a free weekend that I'm just gonna want to spend it getting to know you, like not knowing what the future may hold. That sounds crazy to me right now, right? But you have to say, okay, I have my career, I have my child that even when he's not with you, we're still planning for, we're still, you know, thinking of, and now I have to see if this is going to be a viable situation. However, you can't just expect that bonus person to be available whenever you don't have a kid.
That's right.
You can't be like, well, now you on a Monday, Tuesday, every other weekend schedule like me. Huh?
Right.
Wait, what? You know, so I think that that's one of the things that makes dating someone with a child a little bit more intense. Because you have to make that commitment very early on. And it can be, it doesn't have to be, I know I'm going to marry this person to make that commitment. Because that commitment is saying that no matter what, this child comes first.
That's right.
And that is very hard for a single person to be like, this little human that I have not even met yet has to come first in my life too, right?
Wow.
Like, that's something that I had to make a decision on very, very early on. And I think that if you're playing around with somebody with a child and you start to see that it is getting a little bit deeper of a situation, that's a decision that you need to make very early on. And if it is the decision to say, I can't do that, you need to let that person know immediately. You should not string along one of the other parties. Like, if you were to string me along and developing this relationship, but knowing that I was never going to meet Cam, that would have been crazy. That would have been insane. Okay. But also, if I was to string you along, getting to know you and wheeling you in, and then being like, I don't want no kids, you know. That's insane. So the process of dating changes drastically, because now not only do I want to show you I respect you, show you I support you, show you I want to get to know you, I have to put this child first.
And as a single parent, there's a couple of different scenarios that we have as single parents. One is you have a single parent that has their kid all the time.
Right.
Okay. And there's another scenario where you're a single parent and you have your kid for a designated part of time, whether it's a couple of days during the week or a split time. And with that and having your child as your highest priority, now your time is already limited. And so as a single parent, we feel that when we have this limited time and we're making sure that you have priority in that, I think sometimes we feel as though we're giving so much of ourselves to you.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus having the insight and being able to recall when you were single without a kid, you just have all this time freedom and you're able to just, you know, at the drop of a dime, go on a date, go on a vacation. Now I'm a dad. And so, or I'm a mom and I have limited time and I'm giving you this time. I'm prioritizing my time and I'm saying, guess what? Outside of the most important thing in the world to me, I'm going to give you my time, which we often say is one of the most precious and expensive commodities.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's good. So I think the thing with that is communication. Because if I don't know that you're making all of this, you know, you got processes and you got time management that you need to put in place just to take me out to eat, I'm thinking, you hungry, I'm hungry. We going out to eat. You know, like, what did you do?
Right.
You paid? Okay, I got the next one, dude. You know, but in real life, especially again, now that I am a parent, and I know how much it takes to be an active and intentional parent. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine, you know, but that's something that you got to articulate to me. And you did. And that's something that you have to make sure that you're articulating to the person that you're dating is that, hey, I got this, and then I got you.
Yeah, and I think we both kind of tried to operate in a space of grace and understanding. And that was so important because we came to a place of appreciating each other's time, even though I felt like sometimes I forgot what it was like to be single because as soon as you get thrown into that world of parenting, it's like that's all you ever knew. But there were, like we talked about too, being able to say, okay, I got Cam this week. We need to make sure that we make time to see each other, right? So whether that is hitting a lunch date, hitting 2 lunch dates, and maybe one of those days my parents having them for a date night and being able to move everything around where, you know, as a parent, I'm prioritizing my child, but then guess what? I'm also showing you that I'm making room for you. I'm also showing you that you are extremely high priority. And you are also showing the understanding that you understand that this child is my highest priority. And so being able, as a parent, to exercise that and being able to have you exercise it while we're dating, now I'm saying, okay, this may be able to work, that we're going to the next kind of phase of the relationship, making sure the compatibility is there because like you said, with the time management and time appreciation, not only, I'm not hijacking the time as a parent. I'm not saying that my time is more valuable. Now we're in a space of, I'm appreciating your time, you're appreciating my time, and now we're even making more time together, and then we're starting to put in place, I think, the plan where we could collectively, because it has to be a plan where we collectively can spend time together.
And that leads me to wanting to speak to the bonus parents, the ones that either don't have the child or maybe their child is older, right? So you don't really have to do all this maneuvering.
That's right.
You can leave your baby at the house. They 17, you know, they straight. But don't rush the process either. Like, let them lead the plan because I think that we often are trying to figure out how this kid plays a part of our lives. And we want to have a connection with this kid. That connection may not be immediate. That connection might be something that needs time to cultivate. If you meet this kid and it's Angelica, Cam. You know, you gonna run? Are you gonna say, oh, I can't deal with this one?
That's
you
right.
know, no, that can't be where you are. And also, I think that introducing Cam too early on to us would have made me realize why I had that ick.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. He'd have let me know I'm not his mama 12 times in one day. This is exactly what I didn't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? But because it was a process.
That's right.
Because I was able to love you so much that I loved every extension of you. Because I was able to fantasize and romanticize what it would be to be a bonus mom ahead of time. And I knew my impact that I could have on his life. And because he was introduced with the family.
Yeah.
Right? He was introduced in a way where it was like, Grandmama, Big Daddy,
right.
Oma, everybody loves her. Maybe it's something to her.
Yep.
You know, so that plan and that process and just kind of following your lead was the first time that I also got to really trust you as a leader. And that changes things for the relationship. I've always been in control of everything, from business to relationships to whatever, right? And relinquishing that control and seeing it manifest perfectly is that stamp of approval that he could be the head of my household.
And one thing you put in there, we said don't rush the process. But one thing you also mentioned was trust. So yes, don't rush the process. Trust the process. And you cannot have a process without trust. And so once we felt as though trust being built, right? Because you have to build the trust first in order to even get to the process. Because if you don't trust me, how could you ever trust my process of introducing you to my child?
And that's good, because that's another thing. Look, in dating, they don't start at 100% trust.
Right.
Don't give your, trust, your vulnerabilities, your everything to this new person.
That's right.
You build trust. You start with respect, right? You respect everybody. I respect people on the streets. You should definitely respect that person that you're trying to get to know. However, you don't start with 100% trust.
That's right.
So building that foundation of, I trust that you at least have my best interest at heart, right?
That's right.
I trust that you love your son enough to know exactly what he's going to need in this process. And I trust that you are doing this because of our future. Not because of the lack of our future. So in trusting all of that and really sitting back, I always say you tricked me, because I'm all in love now. I'm all in.
Got her. Got her.
I'm done. So when Angelica come in there and flop down and hit me in the face, I got to say, it's okay, baby. I know that it's going to be okay. Instead of risking it all. Because I definitely had those thoughts of being like, if I snatch him up one good time, maybe I can still play around and see. I never going to get married.
I got it.
So I was a little tricked. But that trick was just enough. That's a process that I think that is very necessary in dating.
And one thing that I understood, and anybody has to understand, is that I understood that my child was so valuable to me, but also the person I wanted to be with was so valuable to me. So understanding that anything that's worth keeping and holding so fragile and so potentially sacred, that you have to have a process and you have to trust that process. And you can never, ever rush that process. So being able to have you trust my process and not rush me, and me making sure that I'm taking my time so that I am creating space and opportunity for the process to grow and build, for you to also be able to trust that now is so important, because now we're not rushing the process at all, and you're in full trust of the process that we're building together, and finding a lane in which is the most productive lane for you to be able to meet my child and we can grow together.
And I think that leads to the final key.
Yeah.
The child is number one. And that just has to be like a mic drop, because I think that I even had those moments of feeling a little selfish.
Yeah.
Like if it was something going on the night that you had Cam, but it was like something that I wanted to bring my date with me, my partner with me, and he had to say no, I would feel like, see, this is exactly why. That's why, man. You know, because if it was our kid, we both would have to say no, right?
Yep.
But now it's just your kid, but I'm free, but you got to say no. That shook up my world a little bit on several different occasions. But in knowing that I would want my children to come first, and this will be my child once we're married, right? Or as we progress in this relationship, I had to eliminate all drama.
Yeah.
So if I had let his mother steer me away, or if I had let our lack of an immediate connection steer me away, or if I had let the days that you couldn't be as involved with me steer me away, I wouldn't be here with the person that I have built my entire life with, you know? And that's something that I didn't know I was doing.
Yeah.
But I'm naturally a nurturing woman. So I was always thinking about him. And even when I communicated with him, if he was telling me something that, you know, he was not understanding what his mom was saying, or he, you know, was upset with you, I was the bridge between the two of you because he was first. I didn't push my own agenda. I wasn't like trying to get him to like me more than either of the parents, or I wasn't trying to make his mom sound like a monster so that he could lean more on this side. All things that a bonus parent can do.
Yeah.
Which is why you need to choose very, very well.
Wisely.
Right? Very wisely. But it was about keeping that child first. And that the moment that I realized that he was our priority, I think that things went smoothly.
And as a single parent, you know, it's often that, you know, when we're dating, we feel guilty, especially when we like somebody so much, because we feel as though this is our child, right?
Yeah.
And it's not our baggage, because we love our child.
Right.
But I think sometimes we feel as though it could be your baggage. So being able to have that person come in here and prioritize our child, to prioritize my child, that just, it's not only is it sexy, but it's also showing that you're willing to take all of me, right? Because my child is me. And for you to say that you're going to have my child, because at that point it's my child, come first. Now I'm willing to do anything for you.
Yeah. And that's something, you know, again, because of the process and because of how much you and I had connected through dating, it made it easier and easier. Because I knew that I did want all of you, right? I knew I was here for it all, and I knew that all was including any version of that child. So whatever version I got, and Cam has had seasons, right? And I've been there and will be there through every season. Even when I'm like, oh Lord, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe this kid that came here and did this, you know. It really has made me a better mother. You know, I was able to unconditionally love a being that was not out of my belly. That gave me some grief in the beginning. And being able to love and want the best for him, I think just transitioned my just entire existence as a mother.
And it gave me a greater appreciation for you and being able to truly understand the real bonus that you are, right? I mean, I could never imagine the 10 years that you have come into me and Cam's life, right? Because you came into our life. And so being able to interrupt her "I'm not dating anybody with kids" was a super win for me and Cam. And now, guess what? It's not just me, you, and Cam.
I know.
It's 5 of us.
Yeah. So I think overall,
Yeah.
you just have to respect each other.
Yeah.
And I think that it doesn't make it more difficult, but it does make dating more intentional. You can't play around with somebody with a kid.
Yeah.
And you can't play around with somebody who doesn't have the kid and you got a kid.
That's right.
Right? You have to lock in on the very beginning without giving too much of yourself or your child, but lock in on what is the plan and the process and make sure that it's communicated effectively between both parties. If I respect your time, you respect my time, and we support each other in what this, union looks like and what it's going to be,
Yeah.
then that child comes first and everything can run a lot more smoothly.
So the keys in dating the single parent, even if you never ever wanted to date a single parent, was never ever pressure to meet their child.
Respect and appreciate their time management. And a third piece is for the bonus parents, because parents, you already do this, but the child has to come first.
And I think when you put all of those together, that is the process.
Yes.
And we don't want to rush the process.
No.
We have to trust the process.
Absolutely.
So, those keys in dating a single parent, it's time to toast it up.
All right.
All right? But today we're doing coffee. Coffeeing it up, right?
Yes.
Our early morning segments calls for coffee.
Coffee.
Okay? So this is a toast to understanding in this new age of dating and parenting. There is a lot of co-parenting. There's a lot of single parents, and that in the nature of the game we are in. We have to operate in understanding, and we have to operate in grace.
Absolutely.
Right? We have to appreciate each other's time.
Yes.
We have to appreciate what we hold value to each other.
Yeah.
Whether you have a child or you don't have a child. And being able to operate in the space of grace and understanding, we can create opportunity to see if you can find your person, right? And we don't want to block our blessings just because of some preconceived notion and rules we've already set or placed on ourselves. We have to make sure that any opportunity that God has for us, we're ready to receive it. And so whether that is a person with a child or a person that, has trauma or vulnerabilities or anything, there can be a beautiful side to them that we need to have in our life. And so being able to see clearly for your potential person is so essential. So let's toast to everybody finding their person, receiving that person, no matter the circumstances.
Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a journey of love, of understanding, of vulnerability, and we are just so appreciative that you have joined us for another episode of Finding Love.
And we want to invite you into our Finding Love community. And one of the best ways to do that is clicking that subscribe button right down there.
If you want to tune in with us more, kick it with us more, learn more about Finding Love, we definitely want you to follow us on all social media at I Am Finding Love. And I am Jenni L. Hendrix on all social media platforms. Jenni with an I, L, Hendrix with an IX.
Hey, there you go, baby. And mine is Stephen Hendrix, #1. And also, for anybody's listening to us on one of these amazing podcast platforms, please rate, review, comment. We really appreciate you.
We gonna